I have this really vivid memory that I wanted to share with you. Now, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I can visualize this memory. And I'm small and I'm looking up at my mom. So I must have been, I'm going to guess maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, somewhere in there. And we're on the bus and we're getting, like, we're standing or sitting on the bus. And so I remember that part of the ride, and then we go to get off of the bus, and I remember that part of the ride, and we get off the bus. So I remember holding my hand, being small, and hearing a conversation of these two. Now I'm going to say men, because when I was little, they seemed like men. But when I think back on it, maybe they weren't men, maybe they were teenagers. But what's stuck in my brain is that seemed like grown-ups to me. So maybe they were just teenagers, but maybe they were young men. And they were sitting in the back of the bus. And when I tell this story, I'm like, ooh, I have this feeling that it's the troublemakers that sit in the back of the bus. And maybe this is the reason why, or maybe it's just my years of riding, school bus and all that kind of stuff, that's where the people who wanted to cause trouble sat in the very, very back. And as my mom and I went to get off the bus, I could hear what these guys were saying. And I have this memory of them, I think maybe being drunk or high or something like that, but just being loud and talking and kind of disruptive. But they were talking about me. And what they were saying what I remember is that they were talking about how I looked, and they were making fun of how I looked. And as I tell this story, I have other memories of the story, and maybe I'm confusing memories, but I do remember the word Medusa. And so whenever I hear that word, it's like it totally causes a somatic response in my body. And they were referring to how I looked, talking about me looking like Medusa, like being ugly. And they were laughing about it and just kind of making fun of me in general, how I look. And when I think back on this, I'm like, damn, because I was just a little girl and I could hear what they were saying. And I do remember one of them also saying, well, it's always the ugly ones that turn out to be beautiful in the end, or something almost redeeming. But I didn't realize until I was recalling this story that they had referred to me as Medusa and made fun of how I looked, just all of it. And when I was little, I was super skinny and red hair, or I call it strawberry blonde, but red hair, freckles, all the stuff. You got, as you're going through stuff, you have big teeth and whatever that is. Like, you just go through awkward stages. So maybe I was a little bit older. I can't remember because I was holding my mom's hand. So that's why I'm thinking I was young. Anyway, I could hear what they were saying, and it was affecting me. I was shocked. I was embarrassed. I was hurt. I was all those things. And I remember getting off the bus and these guys just laughing and then going about their day, going on their way. Now, here I am at 55 years old, still having a memory of this experience. And I guarantee you that those two drunk guys forgot as soon as they went and, got their pizza or whatever it is they were doing. Isn't this amazing how one experience can totally have an impact on you? And it's always the experiences that elicit a big emotional response that we remember, because we have that emotional, whatever it is, held in our body. It could be a trauma, it could just be an experience, but it's in our body, it's in there. And the reason I'm telling this story is because this one small moment in time with these two people that have no idea how this affected me made an impact on me. And I feel like that put an imprint on me about how people look and how people judge you about how you look at such a young age. And I think for me, that message was, people will judge you about how you look. And so it's important to look good so people think highly of you, or people think positive of you, or people are nice to you. That's probably what it came to is like, because those guys were mean. And so how nice people are to you and how people treat you depends on how you look. That was kind of the message that I got from that, which is a crazy message to get at such a young age. And as you could see, as I tell you the story, I have memories of it. It's like, is this part of one story and part of another story? It really impacted my life. But think about of all the things that people have said to me over my whole entire life, all the time someone said something nice to me or nice about me. This is the one yucky thing that is stuck in my mind. And that was how I saw myself, or how I thought others saw me. So from that story, I would put that on everybody and be like, people are judging me by how I look. And this is where I get my message. It's always been love yourself first, because no matter what your issue you're dealing with, it always comes down to self-worth. When I was raising my boys, my number one message, my number one focus was making sure they love themselves first, exactly as they are, no matter how they look, no matter how they think, no matter what they like or don't like. Just love yourself, because you're perfect exactly as you are. And that's why my message became always love yourself first, because this is who you are in this world. You're here because you're meant to be here exactly how you are. Exactly as you are. I've always been like, kind of like a naturalist. I've never, as long as I can remember, I've always just wanted to be. I don't want to wear a lot of makeup. I don't want to spend time doing my hair. I've always been an athlete. So I always want to wear like runners in case a basketball or soccer game breaks out. I want to be able to participate. So I grew up as a tomboy because I love sports. I love activities. I love taking part. And I was never big into doing my hair or doing my makeup, because I think in the back of my mind, I always wanted people just to like me for who I am, like just who I am, not how I look. Because I know that I've always had this thought, anyone could look like a model if you do the makeup and the hair and all that. And if you have the right lighting and you have airbrushing and Photoshop, all that, anyone could look like a model. I worked in the film industry for over 10 years and I did lighting. So it was my job to help people, to make the actors and actresses, especially the actresses, look amazing. And what people who are watching these movies or TV shows don't understand is that the actress would come in an hour before we started, and she would go into hair and makeup. So one person would do her hair and another person would do her makeup, specifically for lighting. And then we, as the technicians, as the lighters, we would go through a run through, see where they're going to stand, what they're going to do, the actions, the words they're going to take, the way they're going to turn, all of it. And we would mark it on the floor and we would follow them with the camera, lay it all out. And then we would light that scene based on all of that. So no matter where this person went, they were lit. But they were lit to make them look like the way we wanted them to look like. So if we want them to look beautiful, we would make them look beautiful because of the lighting and the hair and the makeup. If we wanted them to look evil, same thing. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it would take us an hour to light the set. It would take an hour for hair and makeup. And they stand in a certain spot. And every shot is very meticulous and specifically calculated for this person to look amazing and beautiful. Even before we had all of the Photoshop and all that when we shot on film, that was what it took for everything to come together for this person to look amazing. And then somebody would be sitting at home going like, wow, look how beautiful that person is. I want to be beautiful like that. But it's not real. It's not possible. Like, you would have to have somebody come to your house and do your hair and makeup and walk around with a nice light. and turn this way and turn that way. Look at these angles in order for that to happen. So that is not real life. And that's what we emulate as humans. These people are our idols and we want to look like, but we don't understand what it takes for this person to look like this. So I've always been a naturalist because of maybe that experience and just the way I think. And I've always been aware of the environment and chemicals and all this kind of stuff. Well, and I've been a naturalist except maybe in high school because, high school is high school. High school is you just trying to fit in. It does a number on you. Luckily, like I said, I was into sports. So I always had friends, and I had my best friends since, grade 3. So I was never trying to impress people consciously, but in high school, you've got to fit in because it's high school. So I definitely had the perm, and I did my hair, I curled my hair, and I wore eyeliner, like harsh, that harsh black eyeliner and mascara. So that's kind of like my free pass there. But now, or after high school, when I was, starting to understand who I was and really feel myself, I've always been just a naturalist. I don't want people to like me for how I look. I want people to like me because I'm a good person. But that comes back to me. I want to like me because I'm a good person. Because I know if I took more time with my hair or if I put more makeup on, I could look better. But at what cost? Like, that would be selling myself out because I truly believe that I want to show up and judge myself and know myself based on who I am. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't curl your hair or spend time on your hair or you shouldn't do makeup and that, if that's what works for you, or why are you doing it? That's what I would be asking. It's like, are you doing it because it makes you feel good, or are you doing it because you think you're not enough without it? So there's a difference there. So I'm all for doing what enhances who you naturally are. Like, and when I say that, I mean how you feel about yourself. No, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I'm hoping people don't do it because they don't like the way they look without it. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like, you're perfect just the way you are. And if it makes you feel good to put makeup on, that's great. But if you put makeup on to hide who you are, then that's not loving yourself first. And that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to be able to love themselves first. I had this amazing boyfriend once, and I remember he said to me, I want to think about this because I want to get it right. Because it really touched my heart. It was like, damn, like this boyfriend really knew me. He understood people and he got me. And it was just such a wonderful feeling to be around him from that sense. And I remember him saying to me, Heather, I wish you could see yourself the way I see you, as a grown up, beautiful human being and beautiful woman, instead of how you saw yourself or when you were a little girl. And I was just, damn, he knows my story. He knows the bus story. That's what I was thinking. But he hit the nail on the head. Is I was seeing myself as this awkward little girl as opposed to this beautiful woman. And just for him to say that was like, really struck a chord with me. And I'll always remember that. And I tell myself that sometimes. And I see that in other people too. Like, that's all my awareness too. Oh, they're seeing themselves like that little girl that, got into trouble or had trouble making friends or whatever, your thing is. As opposed to the grown up that we are today. The person who's lived life, who has experience, who understands how they are. And because when we recall a memory, like that story that I told you, you could see that as I was telling you that story, different things started to pop in. Maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Because every time you recall a memory, it's different every single time. And then you remember it differently, and then you put it back into your memory bank differently. So the next time you call it up, it's a totally different memory. That's how your memory works. And that's why when I was telling the story, I'm thinking to myself, did this even happen, or was this a dream I had? No, it happened. But that's how the memory works. It's like calling up a Word document, making some changes, saving it, and then putting it away. And the next time you call it up, it's that version that you're calling up. And if I've called it up 100 times, I've changed it 100 times. So now it's a totally different memory than what actually happened. That's how memories work. And the reason I'm talking about this for this podcast is always love yourself first, is because when I work with my clients, everything anybody's struggling with always comes down to self-worth. Every single time it comes down to self-worth. And so when I coach people, I used to take them to like, where did this come from? But it doesn't even matter because it's in the past. The only time it matters for us is because we bring it into the present moment. We can't let go of it, and we identify with it. Every time I think that I'm not enough the way, I look, it's because of that past experience. And it's just because I'm bringing it into the present. I could leave it back there. I could learn from it, and I could leave it there. So we don't even need to know where this came from, but we just want to know that it's there. It's about self-worth. We just think we're not worthy enough. And what we want to do instead is put our focus on what we do want, how we want to feel instead. Everything is just made up. I'm talking about everything, society, who we think we are, how we show up, all of it. It's just made up. We're making it up as we go along. So why not make up something that actually serves you? This is the kicker. If we're making this shit up, let's make it in our favor. Let's make it so it works for us. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to midlife. It's like, okay, yep, what's happening here is I'm reinventing myself because everything as I know it is changing. All this that I made up before is not relevant. So let's change it, but let's make up something that really serves me. And we can start with really powerful questions because listen to me when I say the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask yourself. This is so powerful, and I believe this with all my heart. The quality of life you live is determined by the quality of questions that you ask yourself. So ask yourself some really powerful, strong, empowering questions like, what do I love about myself? And if you can't come up with something that you love about yourself, what do I like? What do I really like about myself? How am I enough just as I am? Like, how am I already enough? And if you can't come up with something, find the smallest thing. Like if I can't come up with something that I love about myself or I like, I'll come up with something like, I am kind and caring to others. I believe that. That makes me feel good about myself. I can focus on that. Remember, the universe always gives you what you're looking for. So if you don't like what you're receiving, then be like, okay, what am I focusing on? That's the subconscious, all the subconscious beliefs that I have coming up. But I want to consciously change that so I can create something good. You'll always prove yourself right. So if I think life is negative and hard, I'll be like, see, look at all these negative, hard things that are happening. Your brain will search for all the things that prove you right. You'll be like, see, I'm right. But it works in the positive too. How am I right? How are things good? You'll always prove yourself right, and the universe always gives you what you're looking for. I want to leave you with this one thought. Life is rigged in your favor. Okay, life is rigged in your favor. So I want you to carry on from this moment forward in midlife thinking, oh my gosh, the universe wants me to succeed. Life is rigged in my favor. Everything is going to work out for me. And the more I focus on that and see that, the easier it is for me to create that for myself. Life is rigged in your favor. Believe it and live your life like it's rigged in your favor, because it is. Now, how do you take this powerful information and go out and crush midlife? You want to focus your thoughts. You want to create your thoughts to create that next moment, to create that next result that you do want. Try Etch-a-Sketching it. Okay, you know how to Etch-a-Sketch is. It's like that little board that had sand in it. It was red and it had handles. You could draw anything. And then when you're finished drawing it, you could just shake it and start fresh. So that's what you could do with where you're at right now. Apply this philosophy to midlife. Okay, I have this new lease on life. Nobody needs anything from me. I'm focusing on myself. I'm focusing on my health, my well-being, my purpose. I'm just going to shake it and start fresh. And I'm going to try stuff. Because guess what? If I don't like it, I just shake it and start again. That's why a lot of people are afraid to go out and try and new things and be big and live large, because they're like, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? Just Etch-a-Sketch it, shake it and start again. Because it's just stuff we've created in our brain. It's all made up anyway, so you can't do it wrong. And you can shake it and start again at any point that you want. So go out there and Etch-a-Sketch midlife. Etch-a-Sketch something that totally lights you up and you can't wait to get out of bed in the morning and you're just living life to the fullest, because that's what midlife is for. You're creating this next phase of your life that could be absolutely amazing. So go out there and be brave. Thank you for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first and have an amazing day.